Hi everyone, welcome to the Fight with Teddy Atlas. I'm Teddy Atlas III, and joined, as always, by my main man, Boxing Hall of Famer, my father, Teddy Atlas. How you doing, bud?
Good, bud. How are you doing? You're not in the basement. You're not in Las Vegas yet. You were here for the holidays, which we were blessed to have you and your family here, and our grandson who keeps getting bigger and bigger. They're like weeds. They just grow so fast. It's amazing. Even when I see him when you FaceTime me, it looks like he's getting bigger by the minute. But now you made a stopover for New Year's in Miami Beach, and then I think you're leaving today after doing this show back to Vegas. Am I correct?
You are correct. It was time to defrost from New York. We had a great time with you guys. And just as you said, yeah, we're down in Miami. Had a great New Year with the family, with some great friends. And I even have a great little makeshift podcast studio here. I did not ship this picture in behind me, and it was here ready to go. It was meant to be.
Yeah, it's Ali Foreman and Zaire, the great upset. One of the great upsets that we got a little something here, Rich. I don't know, but one of the great upsets that Ali's been involved in. You know, he was involved in. I don't know what the odds were, but he definitely was an underdog. Obviously, in that fight, Foreman had beaten everybody. I think he had knocked everyone out, but he had knocked out Joe Frazier, of course, to win the title. And Ali was a big underdog against Sonny Liston. I think it was 7-1. I think Ali was an underdog against Sonny Liston both fights. When he beat Liston and upset the world the first time, and then of course that was controversial, and then the second time he was an underdog again. People still had not believed in Ali, but they finally did believe in him and his mantra and his talent that he was the greatest.
Absolutely. Glad to be here with you, bud, and get right into it. We had our first fights to break down, and we're going to recap for 2026. And the ladies stole the show, being the co-main and the main event on DAZN. It was from Puerto Rico. We're going to start off with the co-main event. We had the former women's bantamweight UFC champion, Holly Holm, made her second boxing match return since 2013 versus undefeated WBA lightweight champion, Stephanie Han. Now, Han was in control of the fight. They're heading into the 7th round. An accidental headbutt, maybe caused by the southpaw Holm reaching in, putting an abrupt end to the fight. The ring doctor stopped it. We went to the scorecards. And in the end, Han won unanimous decision. Just want to get right into it, bud. Want to hear your thoughts on this fight and the return of Holm at 44 years old.
Yeah, accidental headbutt, like you said, nobody's real fault. If anything, I think Han might have reached in a little. She was a little shorter than Holm, and she might have reached in a little bit and found the nugget of Holm and got that cut. I was a little surprised they stopped her so quick. Maybe it's got to do with being, women boxing. Because we've seen a lot of those type cuts on the forehead, and it's not in the eye section, so they don't worry about permanent damage. They get concerned maybe about it pumping and it coming into the eyes. No doubt about that. But we've seen so many. Nothing was worse than the one that we saw with Badojak.
Versus Marcus Brown.
Yeah, nothing was worse. They let that go the whole... listen, it depends on the circumstance. It depends on who the ref is, obviously. But I was a little surprised. Maybe it is because it's ladies. But either way, they stopped. It was not a scintillating fight. It wasn't like a fight you were saying, oh, I wish they didn't stop it. There was a lot of grabbing. Holm, not only UFC former champion, but former boxing champion in several weight classes. So she's an icon in her sport, in combat sports, between the two sports. 44 years old, southpaw. Simply put, Han was just younger and faster. And not just faster only with her hands, but faster with her feet too. In and out. More mobile. Holm, at this junction in her life, she's had a great career, but at 44, she looked a little sort of robotic almost. Just slow with her feet, at the draw, pulling her to the draw, looking for the big left hand, but just was a day late, a dollar short all night long. Just, like I said, very, just slow and look like she's at that point now where it's hard to pull the trigger and hard to compete with younger fighters, especially a fighter like Han, who's undefeated, has a belt, and has some dimension to her, being able to go in and out and keep somebody who's stagnant on their feet, as Holm was, keep them from really doing anything, keep them from getting off. So at the end of the day, you don't know if it's not going to be the end. I mean, when you're 44 and you've had as many fights as Holm, you do have to start thinking about the end. She's had a great career, but they already talked about a rematch. You know that she's not going out yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They already were talking about fighting the rematch, potentially on either one's home turf. And the one thing I thought about with you always said punchers are born, they're not made. Holly Holm is so physically strong, but in her 40 pro boxing matches, she only has 9 knockouts. And I thought it was just watching that fight, I didn't feel that power behind her from what I got to see.
Yeah, I mean, I never really deciphered her as a big puncher. To me, she was a good boxer. She used her size well. She had good size, southpaw, very game, and experience, and used her experience. Controlled range well, used her southpaw jab well, had that huge upset. She's got that iconic upset. The picture behind you, right? We just finished talking about, you're good, you. We're picking those pictures for, fitting them in there, fitting them into the conversation. That's an iconic upset. And in women's combat sports, of course, Holly Holm had an iconic upset in the UFC.
Yeah, no question versus Ronda Rousey.
I mean, Ronda Rousey was like George Foreman. I mean, it was the equivalent of George Foreman in some ways. I know some haters will come out and say, "Are you out of your mind, Teddy? You're comparing her to George Foreman." Actually, yeah, I am. But in the proper way. Just that she was undefeated. She was destroying people. And George Foreman was doing the same thing. And when they got beat in obviously different sports, obviously different degrees of prominence, of importance, if you will, to the sports world, but they were huge upsets.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll see if there's a rematch. We'll see if the great Holly Holm continues her career. And with that being said, we're going to keep it moving. We're going to move on to the main event. Sticking with the ladies, the unified featherweight champion, Amanda Serrano, defending her titles against the late substitute Reina Tellez on her home soil in Puerto Rico. Serrano's original opponent, Erica Cruz, had an atypical finding on her drug test, so Tellez, an undefeated U.S. Olympian, she took the fight on 15 days' notice. She missed weight by half a pound, and despite all of that, she was able to make this a pretty competitive fight, or more competitive than I thought it was going to be. She even swelled up the eye of Serrano. In the end, Serrano bounces back after her back-to-back losses to Katie Taylor in the win column by unanimous decision. And I just want to get right into it, hear your thoughts and what you thought, Amanda Serrano.
Yeah, I'm gonna do what I do sometimes, and take my liberties with the English language. I do. I take my liberties with the English language, and with the English vocabulary. I'm gonna say that Tellez made it became a one-sided competitive fight. How's that? How do you like that? It was because she stayed in there. It was one-sided. I mean, Serrano won every round, maybe lost one round. But it was, and I'm not talking about the BS fraudulent, winning a round. I'm talking about, no, it really was almost a shutout. I'm not talking about a Canelo fight with Bivol, where Bivol wins every round, and they got rounds going for Canelo, or even Crawford and Canelo. Why do you bring me down this road, bud? Why? It's the new year. I don't want to go down here. It's the new year. I want to forget about the crap that sometimes boxing suffers with. But clear that out of the way, kind of like a snowplow, clearing out the snow that might have fallen. We got snow here. You got to Miami. You beat the snow. But we got some snow. But we plowed it. I'm going to plow it the same way as I plow the snow. But in those fights, in the Bivol fight with Canelo and the Crawford fight, they were inventing rounds. But really, in this fight, Serrano probably won every round. But Tellez, again, made it, at least gave you a reason to watch it, because she was so tough, she was so competitive, and she was landing punches. Neither one of them showed great defense. Serrano's was a little better, but they were both getting hit. Serrano's so much more experienced. Southpaw, so much more experience. I was a little surprised by, is this fair to say, but by Serrano's lack of ability to hurt Tellez, because, she's known as a puncher. She was moving up to featherweight, so she didn't carry her power. Either that or Tellez is that tough, and I think Tellez is that tough. And I'm going to give credit to Tellez again. She was busy enough with her hands throughout the night. She kept herself in the fight. Again, it was a very competitive, one-sided fight. A competitive, one-sided fight. Serrano used her experience. The straighter punches for Serrano probably carried the day. Tellez's punches were rounder. Straight beats round. We've been through these lessons many times. And once again, experience and the straight punches of Serrano, the southpaw, the champion, beat the rounder punches of Tellez.
Yeah, beautifully said. I think you recapped that one perfectly. When you talk about Serrano and that power, bud, it makes me think, was it from moving up from a higher weight, fighting Katie Taylor most recently, and moving down? Did it drain her? Did it take something out of her? Also, to that point, she was going to tie the record of Christy Martin for 32 knockouts, the most ever by any female boxer. And that'll have to wait. That'll be put on hold. She's still stuck at 31 right now.
Yeah, maybe if she went to the body a little more, because she did hurt Tellez more to the body than she did to the head. And if she dedicated herself to the body, maybe from the beginning to the end, because Tellez was starting to show wear and tear at the end.
Absolutely. The other thing I want to ask you, though, is this isn't the norm. The women usually fight 2-minute rounds. This was 3-minute rounds. Jake Paul, MVP Promotions, does that have anything to do with it? Is there a little more in the gas tank if it's 2-minute rounds and she could open up or go for that knockout? Does that come into play, and does that benefit the 22-year-old?
Well, you look at it both ways. With 2-minute rounds, you're fresher. You can let harder, snappier, more destructive, bad intention punches. You can let them go for 2 minutes, and you don't have to worry about spending the gas tank if you had another minute. So the punches you're throwing could be more quality, harder, bad intentions punches during that 2 minutes. You could just let it hang out, go after it a little more. So you could say, yeah, that could have something to do with it. But you could go on the other side of the coin, because there's always two sides to a coin, and you could say, well, you're missing a minute now. You had a whole more minute to get the knockout, because with the 3 minutes you got another 60 seconds to land that punch. So you can look at it both ways. At the end of the day, Serrano's what, 37, 36 years old, right?
37 years old.
Yeah, she's 37. Look, she's great. She's in great shape, but you start to slow down a little bit. When you combine that with the tough fights she's been in, especially with Katie Taylor. She's had a lot of fights, and she's had her last few fights with Katie Taylor, they have been wars. They have been wars. I don't care how you calibrate it, man, woman, you're getting hit, you're getting hit. She's been in wars. And at 37, and with that many fights, and that many punches she's taken in the last several fights, it starts to have an impact.
No, absolutely. It's a great breakdown by you. Not a lot of action to start the new year in the boxing world, but a lot more heating up and coming up soon. So we're going to preview. And that preview, talking about wars, is Subriel Matias. Always in fun, entertaining fights and some wars. He's defending his title versus Dalton Smith from the UK. That's going to be on January 10th. That's going to be from the Barclay in Brooklyn, New York, right across the bridge from you, bud. And this always fun to watch. A tough fight for Matias in his last fight where he regained his title versus Alberto Puello. And Dalton Smith, a lot of people might not be too familiar with him. I am not extremely familiar with him. This will be his first fight in the United States and also his first attempt for a world title. Is he that level? Is he world class? Is he more domestic? I want to hear from you, your preview, your prediction. Dalton Smith, Subriel Matias.
Well, first of all, Matias, you alluded to it. Matias is coming off a war. A war. I talked about the war with Serrano and Katie Taylor. Well, this was like that. Maybe worse. It was 12 rounds, and that last fight with Matias, when he won back his title that he had lost to Parro, he took a lot of clean shots against a really good fighter. He is now going in there with a fighter from the UK who's undefeated, who has physicality to him, but he has not fought at that level. That's where it starts for my handicap, my breakdown on this fight. That's where it starts. I mean, Smith's going from the wading pool into the ocean a little bit as far as levels of competition. Matias has been there. He has shown he can handle that level. He has been tested. He has been hit by waves, and he survived those waves. Will Smith get hit by waves in this fight, and can he survive them? We're going to find out. That's where it starts. Can he handle this level? And can he travel well? He's coming over from the UK. Does he travel well? The fight's going to be in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. You know there's going to be a big Puerto Rican presence there, backing Matias. I would back Matias, just the kind of fighter, the kind of person he is. He's a great kid. From everything you can see about him, he's a great kid. He's a humble kid. He's a gentleman. He's a sportsman. And he's tough. And he's a machine. He just comes and comes and comes and comes. But with that comes something else. It comes taking punishment. Guys like that only have a certain shelf life until it starts to show. Until it starts to burn a little dimmer. The light starts to burn a little dimmer. He's one of those guys. You don't just keep it up physically with that style and the punishment you take and the condition you have to be in to go full force for 12 rounds, but emotionally, psychologically, it takes a lot out of you A lot. See, I evaluate everything when I handicap the fights. Not just the records, not just the opponents, not just the talent, not just the technique, all of that. But also the other areas too, like this area. 6 months ago, he was in this war. Has he recovered from it? Has he left something in the ring? Is he emotionally able to get up to that level again when he has to be at that level for his style to work every time? If he's a little off that level, like he was with Paro, he can lose because he has to bring the whole thing. Can he? He had a reason to be up emotionally in the last fight. He was trying to get his title back. In his mind, does he have the reason, or does he overlook? Now that he's got his title, does he overlook a little bit, not meaning to, but human nature, a little bit? This guy who doesn't have the resume of him, does he overlook him a little bit? Here's the breakdown. Here it is. Smith can't outwork him. I don't think anybody's outworking Matias. He can't outwork him. But what he can do is use his legs, box a little bit on the outside, make it a little hard to get in, disrupt him getting in, make him pay a price to get in. Smith's strong enough physically, I think, to handle Matias from a physical standpoint, because you got to have some physicality to you, because Matias brings that. He imposes his body and his mind, his will and his physical presence on you, if he can. So I think Smith can handle the physical part. I think he can. He can't match him output-wise, so he's going to have to hurt him. He's going to have to slow the pace down, either by hurting him or using his legs to control the outside, keep him off balance, where Matias can't get into that gear that he likes to get into. So he's got to either hurt him or at least keep him off stride on the outside. Pot shot him a little bit. You know, give him something to think about. Keep him moving his feet where he's not able to just take a straight beeline to you. Give him angles a little bit. Smith has to be able to do some of that. He also has to be able to land consequential punches. He ain't going to outwork him. He's got to be able to land the bigger shots in spots. There's one punch that I think he can do it with. The right uppercut. Matias gets hit with the uppercut. Hey, he comes forward, he leans a little bit. Yeah, he's susceptible to that. He walks right through them. He doesn't give a crap. But he's susceptible to that. Smith's got a pretty strong right uppercut. He punches pretty good with the right hand. He's not a huge puncher, but he's heavy-handed enough to get Matias' attention. He's going to have to do that. And he's going to have to slow him down to the body. And Matias is a good body puncher too. So he better be able to handle himself on the inside. He better be able to control the outside. He's got to get the better of the outside. Has to. Before Matias gets to the real estate that he loves, that he owns, that he puts a flag in. He's like the first guy that landed on the moon. Put the flag in, U.S. flag. We're here. We came here. We're here. This is our land. This is our place. That's what he does. He puts a flag when he gets inside. He's got to be able to at least tie him up on the inside. Matias will allow you to tie him up sometimes. So he'll have to do that, or at least get some shots off inside, then get out or tie him up. If he could do that, maybe he can surprise people. Yeah, maybe he can surprise people and pull off an upset. But all those things have to be in line. That starting with the mental part. Because I look at the dimensions that a lot of people don't even touch on. He's going to have to be a little off in that area. I don't know if he is. I just laid out my case for why he could be. That's all. At the end of the day, I think headbutts might come into play. They're both in there like billy goats. That's their style. They're rough guys. I think Smith, I talked about, I think he's got the physicality. Does he have the mindset? Does he have the mental toughness to deal with someone this tough, this relentless, this proven that he's been there? We know what he's going to do. I think Smith does. It's a calculation because he hasn't really been tested at that level. But it's a calculation on my part. I think he is tough enough mentally. So he's going to have to be. If he is, he's got a shot if he could do those things. And I think to protect myself, I would throw a bet on a draw that it could be close and on a technical draw. Because I can see with these guys' styles, they've been both cut before. Matter of fact, they were both cut in their last fights. As a matter of fact, Matias was a pretty bad cut. Is it completely healed? I know it's been 6 months, but, and Smith too. So I can see cuts playing a role. Now, if cuts play a role, the fight could get stopped early. It could go, it could be a technical draw. If it gets, I think the rule is it's got to go past 4 rounds. If it's accidental headbutt, if it goes past 4 rounds, then they go to the scorecards. So it could get stopped early. I don't see the fight being stopped early other than cuts. But that's a big X factor. I'm putting it in there. At the end of the day, how do you like it, bud? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Like the great Jack Newfield, my dear friend who's up in heaven, the great writer, like he used to say to me all the time.
No, it makes sense. You laid it all out. That's what separates you from anybody else. You take angles and an approach, and you uncover everything. You think of it all. I think you just laid it all out perfectly. The odds makers have Dalton Smith as a slight underdog heading into this one. And our members at the ropes, you're 24-3 to end 2025. They're excited for the new year. They're excited for 2026. This is the first fight we've given out, and we give it out ahead of time now because I think you are moving these lines. So our members are excited. We've given it out. For all yous out there, if you want a more thorough, typed up breakdown of Teddy's analysis, handicapping, and scouting report with strengths and weaknesses of both fighters, as well as his prop plays, come over, take a look, check out the ropes. And besides that, for ropes members only, on January 10th, we are going to live stream this, where it is a Zoom private meeting with Teddy's private commentary just for members only. We do in-fight live betting tips. Our viewers and our members are able to ask questions during the fight, after the fights. It's a lot of fun. We look forward to keeping it rolling, and we hope to get some more of you guys over there to our community at the ropes.
And the one thing you might want to throw in there, Bud, I think for the people out there, is also in the ropes. If you go there and you're a member there, we have another fight pick that exclusively is being given to the ropes. I think it's to
absolutely. It's one of your favorite fighters, somebody you've been a fan of for quite some time now, a few years, and that's the WBC interim heavyweight champion, Agit Kabayel. He's making his return. It's almost been a year since his win versus Zhang, Big Bang Zhang, over there in Saudi Arabia, and he's taken on Damian Knyba, 17-0, 11 knockouts. He's 29 years old. A lot of people do not know who Knyba is. I know I don't. But now I do, because I got to read your reports. You grinded the film, and that will be the bonus pick for ropes members only. We don't have the time here to preview and predict that entire fight.
So no, it's only for them. I'm not afraid to say that. Listen, this is free, the podcast. We give, and we've been doing it for years now. We got 326,000 members, and we appreciate all of you. But for the morons out there, I said it. All right, I said it. There's not many. There's a few. There's, just a couple, thank God. But that say, oh, you're charging money for that. Hey, we have to pay bills. We've been paying bills out of our pocket for a while now. And in order to keep this going and to keep doing what we're doing, and I'm thankful to you. You came up with the idea of the ropes. And it's not a big number, but it's something that helps us pay the bills, helps us keep doing this, helps us to do what we want to do, make it better, to grow it, get bigger. And yeah, it's actually something that is kind of common in the world. That sometimes you actually have to pay bills and you actually have to find a way to make the money to pay the bills. So it's kind of common. It's not like we're the first ones to invent this premise, this idea. So yeah, there are certain things that are exclusive. I give you everything, and we have for many years,
and we give
still
value.
But
and I just want to say this, but because some will say, oh well, he's giving out a Kabayel pick just for the ropes members. Well, Kabayel is minus 2,000. We don't do that, guys. We give value. We give props. We look at the over-under to 8.5 rounds. Will it be by KO? Will he win by the distance or on the scorecards? There's a lot there. Come check it out. And besides that, I just want to say, it's not just the picks. We do Teddy's weekly tips. We do Teddy's private commentary in the live streams, like we said, for Matias and Dalton Smith coming up. And we had a fantastic Q&A live stream yesterday. I know the members really enjoyed it, seeing all the feedback, all the people who attended. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I think you're gonna put it up where people can get a peek at it, where people are gonna get it. I think we're gonna use the great skills of Richie, that of being able to do the editing, him and Ben, where we can put that up and people will see it. And the last thing I'll say about the one that's up there about Kabayel in his fight is that I feel a little connection with Kabayel because I feel like I was the first one to kind of, I don't want to say find him, discover him, but I was the first one to point a finger, put a light on him. Nobody really knew who he was. And I said, he's gonna beat Sanchez, Frank Sanchez. It was a big heavyweight fight in Saudi. I said, he's gonna beat him, and I think he's gonna knock him out. And he was a big underdog, and he beat him, and he knocked him out with body work.
Absolutely. You nailed it. We were there ringside for that. You picked him again after that versus Big Bang Zhang. And it was before Frank Sanchez that you became a fan. And that was against the big heavyweight, Mubarak, I believe.
The big monster.
And maybe even a fight before that. So, yeah, you've been on the bandwagon for quite some time. A lot of people are jumping on now, rightfully so. And I'm excited to watch that fight. That fight is going to be on the same day as Dalton Smith and Matias at a different venue in the home country of Agit in Germany. So we look forward to that one too. With that being said, bud, we are going to move on from the previews to your year-end review awards. And before we do that, I just want to take a quick pause and thank today's sponsor, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens, the all-in-one daily drink to support better health and peak performance. These guys spent 10 plus years with top nutritionists and doctors to create this formula. It's made from 75 whole food sourced ingredients. It has vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, and antioxidants. This is like an insurance policy for your body's health. Athletic Greens is giving our listeners 3 travel packs for free and a free welcome kit including vitamin D3 and K2 and AG1 travel packs when you first subscribe. So whether you're looking to boost your energy levels, support your immune system, or address gut health, Athletic Greens is the way to go. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/atlas. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/atlas. There they are, Athletic Greens, starting the new year the right way, keeping healthy.
They were number one in 2025, and they remain number one in 2026. And if you want to stay on top of your game and maybe even improve it a little from 2025, talk about tips. This is a pretty good one right here.
That's right. All right, but let's jump into it. We got a lot of awards we're going to cover here, and you're going to pick out. Let's start off. So many good fights in 2025, so much action. And we were lucky enough to be a lot of these fights ringside live. With that being said, let's jump right into your 2025 Fight of the Year.
Yeah, there's a lot of candidates. I'm going to put my cheaters on, if you don't mind. I didn't do this too much in 2025. I'll try not to do too much of it in 2026, but it is a year later. And even I get older, maybe, I guess. Ah, there they are. Well, the fight of the year. Very difficult to actually pick a winner here because so many choices, legitimate ones, to be the fight of the year. You got Christian Mabelli versus Lester Martinez. Unbelievable. I mean, that was unbelievable. Bivol Beterbiev 2. You had Junto Nakatani, Sebastian Hernandez. That was incredible. And that was recently. And you had Koshiro Tarachi and Sego Yuri Aku. You had Callum Smith and Joshua Boazzi. That's some of the candidates. I'll go right to the one that is the winner for me. And it's Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. Because...
the first fight, obviously.
Yeah, their first fight. It was not the rematch. Just a combination of reasons. Like I said, there was so many. I mean... you could look at the Junto Nakatani Hernandez Reyes fight. By the way, we picked that one too, and we got that right. We went 2-0 that day. I didn't mean to throw that in there. I'm sorry. But that could be in the forefront of your mind, so you could be saying, "Oh, that's the one," because that's the one you remember, and it was incredible. It was incredible, and Billy and Lester Martinez was incredible. So it is hard because they are legitimate candidates there. But for me, Eubank and Ben won because of the action in the ring, but also the build-up with the fathers, in the background, the size of the crowd, the atmosphere with the history of the fathers hovering over it all, the ebbs and flows of the action, along with the just pure wills and pride of both men, which we also saw in the other candidates for Fight of the Year. But in this one, we actually, you could feel those traits because of the animosity and what was on the line. The reputations of their families were on the lines. It wasn't just a purse. It wasn't just, the plain normal stuff that comes with a win and a competitive bout, but the family's reputations were on the line, and they did themselves proud. It was, and I don't think nobody expected this kind of fight, and that was part of it too. It blew you away. So that's it. That's my fight of the year, bud.
No, I love it. It's hard to go against that one. Unbelievable fight. And I will go against it for my list, and I'm going to go with Christian Mabelli and Lester Martinez. And the only reason being that I was lucky enough or spoiled enough to be sitting ringside for that. That was on the undercard of Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. It's one thing to watch it live, that war you just talked about, watch it on TV. It's another thing being there live, sitting there ringside, actually feeling it. And that's the only thing that sways me with that one. And I love that you said Callum Smith and Joshua Boazzi, another fight blessed to be at in Saudi Arabia with you. And tremendous fights. I think you picked the right ones. And it's hard to go against Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. With that being said, let's keep it moving, bud. Let's get to what everybody loves when they watch boxing.
By the way, in the one you just said, Billy, that just a battle of wills. I mean, that was a great fight and really a battle of wills, more than anything else. But go ahead, I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there.
And by the way, that was another one that you nailed and you got right. We started the inception of the ropes on that card for the 9/13 Terence Crawford Canelo. Not only did you get Crawford at plus 150, you said that fight would go the distance. And in that war, it still made it the distance. So let's move on to the knockouts, bud. Let's hear your 2025 knockout of the year.
All right, the candidates, I guess we should start with is Norman, Sasaki, Opataya, Sin Cara, Murat Gassiev, the former cruiserweight champ, and Pulev. Wardley, Honey, Martin versus Barthélemy, and again, Opataya versus Naika in another fight. The winner, and again, there's a lot of competition here, bud. Really is. But the winner, because of all the surrounding circumstances, mainly that the huge favorite had lost every round, maybe won one. And he needed a knockout to pull it out of the fire. He needed a Rocky Balboa moment. And he did it with both a delivery system and a right-hand lightning bolt out of the sky, pure Hollywood drama. Wardley versus Honey. Wardley gets it. Hooney. Well, he hit him so hard he became Honey. But that was pure drama. I mean, the fight, it looked like it was over, and he takes a little step back. He sets it up. He's good at that. He's got that one-trick pony, the right hand. Wardley is a guy that doesn't have amateur background. He did white-collar boxing. It's absurd. And he's beating top guys now. And he won part of the world title, whatever it was, on the line against Parker. And he did it the same way. When he was behind in a fight, he comes back and he scores a knockout. He's got that great power in the right hand, but he's got a great will. He's got a great chin. He's got great heart. He's got a great backing and following over there in the UK. They love him. I think he feeds off of that. But he's always coming in with the short end of the stick when it comes. He's got great size, and he was a great athlete too. I think he was a rugby player, but very physically strong. All of that, but he had no amateur background. This doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. It happens in the movies, but it don't happen really too often in real life. And he's got when I say one-trick pony, he found this one thing his trainers found for him, where he'll take a little step back, create a little gap, and then throw a right-hand counter. And he throws it when he has to, and he had to. He had to in this fight. And because he was getting beaten. He was taking a beating. And just incredible story. You know, I don't know when it's going to end, but so far it's still going. It's still going. I mentioned some of the other candidates, Bud. Gassiev, that was a picture-perfect left hook. And it was so sudden. Bang. Opataya, I love him. We love him. We got a good friendship with him and his father over in Saudi that we met him and we spent a lot of time with him. And he's tremendous. But I think he's recently made a habit of having some of these highlight reel moments with the level of competition not as high as these other candidates. And that goes into my criterion.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a great point. And I love the Wardley one for all the reasons you just laid out. He really did pull it out of the fire. He was down 10 rounds to none, or 9 rounds to none going into the 10th round, I believe it was. I'll say, for me, I like the ones, as you said last year, where there's just no movement afterwards, where they're just disconnected. And for me, that was Frank Martin versus the Cuban, Ranzis Barthélemy. And you could also say Brian Norman versus Jin Sasaki. Either way, great list, great knockouts, and we're going to keep it moving, but we're going to go to the upset of the year.
Can I say one thing, Bud? Can I just interject one thing? In the Norman one, I agree with you. Yeah, you can't overlook those, but you have to pick someone, so I picked for the reason I picked them. But in the Norman one, picture perfect, really, the way that you do it. You know, stepping with his opponent as he steps straight out and timing him with the left hook. It reminded me of another great knockout, Mike McCollum knocking out Donald Curry. It reminded me of that. I just want to throw that in there. I'm sorry.
No, that was great. I'm glad you did. And everybody loves an underdog, especially our friends over at the Ropes. Let's hear your 2025 upset of the year.
some of the candidates: Baru, Tellez, Jose Armando Resendez, and Caleb Plant, Romero, Garcia, Uzaman, and Josh Taylor. We threw the ladies in there: Tiara Brown and Sky Nicholson, Lewis Crocker, Patty Donovan in their first fight. In their second fight. Second fight. It was a rematch, and then Adams against Bohocuk. Because again, I think they're good candidates, and I know you could look at, Resendez. You can look at all of them. That's why they're on the freaking list. But you can look at Resendez. You never heard of him probably, and Plant was the name you heard of, so that's an upset. And then, Garcia, after he beat, after he's got that controversial but that devastating win,
Not officially a win, but I'm with you.
With
Devin Haney.
With Haney, yeah, you're right, 100%. But that performance, Romero, the thing with that fight, and it was an upset, but we always knew Romero had talent, but he would always come up short. This time he didn't come up short, or at least he usually came up short, but this time he didn't. But how much of it was an upset because you knew Garcia, you had your doubts about whether or not PEDs were involved in the Haney fight, and now this time he's not going to have the benefit of that. So I didn't look at it quite as big an upset. Usman and Taylor, of course, you got that. I think Taylor's getting older and starting to get shop one.
Well, he since has retired, so absolutely, he was getting a little long in the tooth there.
Well, that's what I meant, yeah. And then, Adams and Bohocuk. Adams hadn't been active at all. It was a rematch, but it was from years earlier, right? And
from years earlier. Adams took 3 years off, to your point, then had a few fights before that rematch versus Bohocuk.
Yeah. So you had that, but I didn't think it was a huge upset because Adams had beaten him already. So, whatever. I went with Lewis Crocker, Patty Donovan in their rematch, and I'll tell you why. Because of the outcome and the ending of their first fight, with Crocker being knocked out. But then Donovan being KO'd, or DQ'd, I should say, by the ref for a late blow. But Donovan had so severely dominated and beat up Crocker, one would never have thought Crocker could turn the tables. But he certainly did. By completely changing his approach, his style, I give his trainer credit. Changed his approach, his style for the rematch. It was a real shocker. It really was. Because of that. So I'm going with that. I'm going with Crocker. And I will throw in there, Baru was a shocker for a lot of people against Tellez. But not for me. Because I looked at tape. The bookmakers were shocked because they made a mistake on that line. A big mistake. And I remember telling you, let's put this one out there. Baru's going to beat Tellez. He's going to upset him. He's going to beat him. And no one ever heard of Baru. But I got tape. I looked at the tape. I said, this guy's a nightmare. This guy's a nightmare. He's going to take Tellez to a place he's never been before. And so for me, it wasn't an upset. I know for the bookmakers it was.
Yeah, no. Your process of elimination there was fantastic. And I'm just going to do my own very quickly. And I'll start off with the fight you just said, Baru and Tellez. It's not for me because of the reasons you just said. Not only did you say that the 6-1 underdog Baru would beat Tellez after watching film, you said that he would win by decision at 12-1, and he did. It happened exactly as you said. Not an upset to me because of that. Armando Resendez versus Caleb Plant. We did a live stream for that one, and you nailed it on the live stream, giving Resendez still plus money as a pretty big dog. So again, not an upset for me. So I land with you on this one. Lewis Crocker versus Patty Donovan, the rematch. And my reason being that you've only lost 3 fights at the ropes. This was one of them. And because that was a loss, that's a shocking upset to me. It doesn't happen often. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. For the upset of the year, Lewis Crocker and Patty Donovan 2. Just want to touch real quick with naming some of those fighters, but Baru, huge unification fight coming up at the end of the month versus Xander Zayas. And also, Lewis Crocker, as he shocked you in that fight, he shocked a lot of people recently. Parted ways with his trainer. He's going over to a new coach. And Patty Donovan was supposed to be fighting Liam Perro coming up on January 16th. That fight has been canceled or potentially postponed due to an illness, from what I've read. We will keep it moving, bud. Let's go over to the round of the year. Let's hear it, your 2025 round of the year.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there's a fun list that's recapping the year. And you can't recap a year without having, well, all these choices and categories, but you have to have a round of the year. You have to have a round of the year. And there were some good ones. Pitbull, Cruz, Angelo Fiera, round 10. Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes, round 11. I mean, they were pretty darn good. They were fire, as we like to say in our family. But the one that was an inferno was round 12. Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn in their first fight. I don't see anything beating that. And for a combination, like I said earlier, you know, I want to yell, the English are coming. The English are coming. You know, I mean, it was like Paul Revere coming, like whenever I get, the English are coming. The English are coming. You know, like get ready. Something's coming. The fire is coming. And the fire came. And with everything, like I said, all these choices are great. But with what had transpired during that fight for the 11 rounds before and what was on the line with their family reputations, their fathers, the whole thing in that final round, it really was, as I implied earlier, it was pure Hollywood ending. It really was. It was like, wow. It don't get no better than that. That's my pick. I hope people like it. I loved it.
I love it. They closed the show, and I agree with you on that one. I would say as well, round 12, Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn in their first fight. And we will move on to, we just talked about everybody loves an underdog. Well, everybody loves a comeback story. Let's hear your comeback fighter of the year.
Yeah, comeback fight of the year. Couple good choices. I mean, you got Manny Pacquiao. How can you not think about him? You got to put him in there. I'm going to go right to it. Devin Haney. Devin Haney, baby. Him and his father. They put it off. To me, Pacquiao, 2 tough choices. But Haney was more in the category of what we're thinking of as far as a conventional comeback. Haney, after that tremendous beating that he took where he was dropped several times. I know it was controversial with what might have been pumping through the veins of Garcia. I get it. But either way, he took those punches. He was dropped several times. Bigger and stronger man that night was Garcia. There were, again, rightfully doubts as to whether he'd ever be the same fighter, physically or especially mentally. And he and his dad, well, they did it the right way. They took time off. They had a comeback fight to clear the ghost, as I like to say, from the attic. They had that fight with Jose Ramirez, where afterwards many said that he was a shot fighter and not the same fighter mentally, fighting way too defensively, too tentatively. But that fight was literally what the doctor ordered to get better. And in the very next fight, what did they do? Take on an easy one? Nope. They took on an undefeated, very talented Brian Norman for the title, and they put on a clinic of punching and boxing. To me, that was a classic comeback.
Absolutely, and I'm with you, bud. I mean, Manny Pacquiao, as you said, you got to mention him. 4 years off from the sport, comes back at 147 pounds, challenges for the title versus Mario Barrios. He did not get the win. It was a draw. With that being said, Haney, not only does he beat Ramirez in his comeback fight, he then, as an underdog, wins the title versus Brian Norman, who a lot of people were very excited about. And everything you just said about removing some of those ghosts from the attic and coming back, I'm with you. I'd give it to Devin Haney as well.
Yeah, I mean, last point with Pacquiao, to me, was more the unexpected or surprise. A remarkable feat of the year. The remarkable feat of the year that because of a combination of age and being basically retired and gone from the sport for so long a period of time, but not a traditional comeback in the way that we're, categorizing it for this award. So there it is. And as Joe Pesci said in his courtroom and my cousin Vinny, I'm through with that witness. Next.
The next is the fighter of the year.
All right. Okay. In a way, Usyk, Crawford. To me, those are the choices. All right? And the winner. If we were making more money than people talk about money, we'd have a professional drum roller. Okay?
We'll have it coming soon. 2026, it's coming.
I got to keep picking winners. All right. Crawford. He gets it for doing what the great fighters of the 20s to 30s to 40s did, jumping up several weight classes, taking on not only a bigger fighter, but one considered a pound-for-pound great. In today's rankings, Canelo was considered some people thought he was the best, but one of the top guys. And he beats him in every way. He beat him every way to Sunday. I mean, inside, outside, to show he's one of the all-time greats for any era. And by the way, so is Usyk for that matter. I don't forget my man Usyk. And in a way is tremendous. But what Usyk has done with unifying the heavyweight titles, beating bigger heavyweights, the whole thing, tremendous, tremendous. But fight of the year, that moment with Crawford was, it was pretty big. It was pretty big. What do you think, bud?
Yeah, I mean, you laid it out there, and it was huge. And to jump up to 168 versus the King there at 168 and Canelo, and to do it, like you said, in the way he did it. But I will say this. 4 fights, in a way. 1 fight, Crawford. How do you feel about that?
No, that's why, in a way, he's on the list. That's why he's on the list. But
I would probably.
There wasn't one of those 4 fights.
Activity.
There was, yeah, all right. There wasn't one of those fights, though, bud, that had the magnitude of Canelo Crawford. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. And maybe Nakatani or maybe a Bam Rodriguez, maybe somebody will elevate him to maybe be your fighter of the year in 2026. We'll see. I do want to mention a few other names just very quickly. Fabio Wardley, what a year. I mean, we touched on it earlier. Pulls it out of the fire versus Hooney with the 10th round KO. And then he's a massive underdog. By the way, you predicted he would win as that underdog. And he knocks out, also in the 10th round, Parker. So, wanted to mention him. David Benavidez beats the unbeaten Cuban at the time, David Morrell. Yes, Morrell was moving up from 168 to 175. But it was an impressive win. And then he just had another fight, Anthony Yard, at 175 as well. 2 fights for him in 2025. And I have to mention Jesse Bam Rodriguez. Also 2 knockout wins in 2025. So just want to give honorable mention to those guys. And with that being said, we're winding it down here, bud. But we want to hear your trainer of the year for 2025.
Well, I think that it's the usual suspects, that saying. But
And great movie.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And it can only be, there's just a few of the greats right now. And I mean, you have Robert Garcia. I think Inoue's father should get some recognition. I really do. He doesn't get enough recognition. Robert Garcia, he won it last year. I love him. He's unbelievable. But this year, I'm going to go with Brian McIntyre, Bomac, as he is affectionately known in the business that is my life business, the business of boxing. I will go with Bomac. He used to, and the main reason, I mean, you got to be a top guy at your craft to be on this list for me, but he used to only be known for his great work with Crawford. But over the last several years, he's brought his talent to help and develop many champions and top fighters. I mean, that's where he stepped out a little bit. I give it to him, bud.
Yeah, I'm with you. He also led Keyshawn Davis to a world title in 2025. They have since parted ways, and Keyshawn is coming back at the end of the month on January 31st with a new trainer. Robert Garcia, yeah, I mean, Bam Rodriguez, Raymond Maratala, with a big fight coming up as well versus Andy Cruz, Virgil Ortiz, and many others. And I love that you just mentioned Inoue's dad, Shingo. So with that being said, I'll mention David Benavidez' father. What a job he's done.
100%.
And besides with David, with Diego Pacheco as well, they have since parted ways, but he was with him earlier in this year. So I think that was a good list. I think you nailed them all, and I agree with you. Bomac does it again and wins your 2025 Trainer of the Year. That ends all of our 2025 awards and year in review. Before we sign off, one final one, bud. As we're heading into 2026, a lot of people have a lot of dream matches out there. I want to hear the one fight. If you could pick one fight for 2026 to be made, who is it?
That's a tough one. I don't know. I made a list. I've made a list. I have a list. It is here. Anybody watch Johnny Carson? Come on, Larry Michaels, the great commentator, the great blow-by-blow guy, the great commentator. He did the Washington Redskins voice, just like Bob Popper, the great Bob Popper is the New York Giants radio voice. Larry Michaels was the radio voice of the Washington Redskins, an iconic team on the radio for years. And he was president or vice president of CBS Radio. He did HBO Radio. I did it with him for fights. A lot of people don't realize HBO used to do a radio broadcast of fights. I used to do them with Larry Michaels. And Larry Michaels would fill in for Bob Popper on ESPN, Friday Night Fights. To me, I don't know why he's not working regular on one of these channels as a commentator, as a blow-by-blow commentator. He's that good. Him and Bob Popper, to me, are the two best guys. But I know he watches a lot of old stuff. Anytime I made a reference to something older, he goes, yeah, I wonder how many other people remember Abbott and Costello or whatever. And I said, well, there's a few out there. This one would be the Johnny Carson show. Johnny, he was the best late night guy ever. And he didn't inject politics and all the crap into it that they do. It was just funny. And he had funny people on. That's late night TV. And he used to do a thing. Karnak what was his name? Karnak the Incredible. And he would put on this mystic hat. He put this and the robe, the cloak and the mystic hat, and McMahon. McMahon was a great straight man. He was the guy who would set him up. McMahon would say, and Karnak, the Incredible, the amazing Karnak is here. And then he'd come out and he'd go, and he'd come out and the hat would be like this, and he'd almost fall, and he'd get himself set, and he'd say, I have a jar here. It's been sitting under a porch somewhere out Midwest in a Hellman's mayonnaise jar. And nobody has seen this. And I am about to take it out and read this thing. So, this has not been sitting in a Hellman's mayonnaise jar, but I am going to bring it out, just like Karnak, the amazing Karnak used to do, Johnny Carson. And I'm going to tell you my list. Dream matches of 2026. Well, I got a few. I'm not going to stay within the lane that I get put in, where it's only one. There's too many to be one. I'm going to throw a few fast ones at you, and I'm going to let you, because you deserve something, I'm going to let you pick the one that you'd like to see. Here's my list. Bam Rodriguez Nakatani. Benavides. And Billy and Hamza Shiraz. We're pretty close with Shiraz, him and his group. Hamza Shiraz and Diego Pacheco. I'd like to see that. Victor Ortiz Jr. and Ennis. Boots. Benavides and Bevo.
Virgil Ortiz. But
Virgil Ortiz. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, bud. Always looking out for me. Kabayel. He's got a fight coming up. We just talked about it. Ituma.
Yeah, versus Moses Itama. The young 20-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. Inoue and Bam Rodriguez. I know the weight a little bit, but not much. Not much. We don't let things like that stop a good list. Zerto Ramirez and Opataya. Inoue and Ball. That would have to be in the UK. Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson. I like that list. I would love to see any of those fights. Give me yours. T3. Give me yours.
All right, I'm gonna give you two out of the ones you listed. And those are some great fights that I love to watch every single one of them. Who wouldn't, right? Unbelievable fights they would be. For me, Inoue versus Bam. I want that one, and I want Shakur versus Tank. Those are the two 2026 my dream matchup fights. But if we don't get those, give me any of the ones you did. That list was awesome. I loved it. I love you, bud. I appreciate you as always. And why don't you take us home before we sign off here?
Yeah, I hope everybody had a great holiday. Had a great Christmas, great holiday. Enjoyed friends and family. And I hope and I wish for a happy, healthy, prosperous new year in 2026 for everybody. And most of all, a safe new year. And an opportunity. It's a new year with opportunities to be better, to do things that maybe you were planning on doing and thinking about doing, and now you make your mind to do it. You're able to get to that place to do it. But most importantly, an opportunity to just appreciate the things that we do have. You know, to look back on 2025 and say, yeah, there was good. There was some things that weren't so good. But I am thankful for the opportunity to move forward into another year and have a chance to do something that we take for granted sometimes. To be able to have a life. There's so many people that are sick. There's so many people that don't have a chance to look past today, much less than to have the good fortune and good health to look a whole year ahead. Remember how fortunate we are that we can do that. We really are. I know we take it for granted. We're human beings. It's just another day. No, it's not. another day that you were gifted. Make the most of it. God bless.
Beautifully said. Happy New Year, everyone. We appreciate all of you. Please like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys again next week.